Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. In this edition, we'll be talking about Tottenham's 2-2 draw here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sorry for any background noise. I'm still inside the ground. Tottenham 2, Manchester United 2. Now, of course, Manchester United took the lead in the 32nd minute through Mbeumo. And then Tell off the bench equalised for Tottenham in the 84th minute. Spurs then took the lead in stoppage time in the 91st minute through Richarlison. And then literally the final kick or head of the game, the Lit equalising for Manchester United in the 96th minute. Now, possession, Tottenham Hotspur had 55%, Manchester United 45%. XG, Spurs 0.96 to Manchester United's 0.63. Spurs had 10 shots in the end, Manchester United only 5. Shots on target, Spurs 4, Manchester United 2. Now, total touches inside the opposition box, Spurs 17, Manchester United 19. Goalkeeper saves, Vicario didn't have to make one today. Manchester United 2. Aerial duels 1, Spurs 11, Manchester United 18. Fouls committed, Spurs 10, Manchester United 8. Corners, Spurs had 5 to Manchester United 3. Now, Tottenham's 2-2 draw here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this afternoon keeps Spurs third in the Premier League table, 18 points from 11 games. But of course, there is a lot of games to be played before the international break over this weekend. Now, we're live on YouTube, live on X and Facebook. Please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Let us know what you have made of today's performance. As per usual, we've got 3 very special guests with us, all regulars. Craig Dearman is back with us. Craig, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Disappointed, and a lot to discuss, I think. It's a lot to discuss. I'll save it for the discussions on the match.
Also with us is Melvyn from Malta. Melvyn, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad considering, the late equaliser, but it is what it is. Deflating performance, not really encouraging, but yeah, not too bad. I'm sure we'll get into it, but good to be on with you guys. And not too bad.
Also back with us is Matt from New Jersey, USA. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well. Everything else besides Spurs is good for me right now. But I thought that, well, like Craig said, we could get into it and we could discuss some concerns that we all have, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, it's fair to say that it's probably going to be a very different podcast to what it was at 1-0 down, with Spurs having no shots on target in that entire first 45 minutes. Boos at half-time yet again under Thomas Frank. Now, Craig, let's kick the show off with you. Let's get your thoughts on today's 2-2 draw.
Ultimately, the substitutions changed the game. Matisse Tell assist created the most chances in the game with 3, completed more take-ons than any other player in the game with 2, and completed all of his passes and won all of his duels. Doesn't really tell the whole story, though. I thought it was another poor performance from Spurs, to be honest. The second half was definitely better, but it's weird. It's like when you look at an elephant that's up a tree, you think to yourself, how the hell has it got there? And that's how I feel about Spurs at the moment. We're third, could have gone second, probably won't be third by the end of the weekend, but we're just poor. We are just poor, and somehow we're where we are. And like I say, could have been second. It's mental, but we drew. I think it was a fair. United would argue that it was not a fair result that they even got a draw. To be honest with you, you couldn't have argued if Manchester United had won that game. But on balance of play in the second half, we probably deserved something out of it, a small something. So certainly to win it wouldn't have been just, but that's football. As said in the comments there, Gabriel Ashkar, he said our final third is non-existent. I totally agree. It's terrible. Very lucky, I'll say lucky goal for Richarlison. He was in the right place. He did react to it. He got ahead on it. But I didn't. I just thought the whole performance again was boring. And we can't keep playing like that. We got something out of the game today, but I actually don't know where I am with Spurs at the moment. It was a poor performance, really poor performance, regardless of the result. United weren't that great either, to be honest. I think that helped us get that point. They really wasn't. They're not the United that I remember watching in the 90s and noughties. Anybody who thinks there's much of a... Well, the positive is we came back and got a point out of the game, I suppose, but very little other than that, other than the substitutes came in and I thought did really well. Tell's goal was great, which I know we'll come on to. And Odegaard was pretty good when he came on. But apart from that, I'm a bit concerned about where we're going, to be honest with you. And it seems weird to say that when your team is sitting third in the Premier League and just drawn. But again, home stadium should be a fortress, and we're not making it our fortress. And there's plenty of things that are not quite right at Tottenham at the moment.
I must say, Craig, it was pretty flat here. It's even flat now after a 2-2 draw. As I mentioned, boos at half-time again. And I want to give you this stat here. 0 shots on target in the entire first 45 minutes. Tottenham had just 3 touches inside the opposition box in the opening 45 minutes against Manchester United today. That is joint fewest in the Premier League in a home game in the first 45 minutes in the last 10 seasons. These are worrying stats.
It is, and like I say, it's weird to see that we're third in the Premier League. Now, does that say we've been lucky, or does that say the Premier League's just not as good as it has been for the last few years, or is it just that everybody else is beating everybody else? I think there's an element to all of that, to be honest with you. It's just the lack of firepower in our team at the moment. There was occasions where Javi Simmons was looking up, he'd turn. He actually did okay, I thought, Javi Simmons today. He came on, he got the ball, turned, looked up, and there was nobody to hit. Nobody was running in the channels.
Audio. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're having problems with Craig's audio right now. Let's go to Melvyn.
Technical difficulties.
Absolutely. It's been one of those days. Melvyn, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I think Frank would be disappointed with the game. I think his selection was wrong today. I have to admit. I think it was evident because the substitutions worked really well when especially when Odegaard came in. I thought we had nothing going on the left. Not to blame Richarlison, because I don't think Richarlison is a winger, but we just had nothing coming from the left. From the right, we were attacking, we were trying, balls were coming from that side, but nothing on the left. I thought we've beaten Manchester United last season 4 times, and we kind of had the blueprint how to do it. And I don't think Frank followed that at all. I thought the way to beat United is to overload the midfield. They don't have the legs. We've done it in the final. We've done it home. We've done it away. And I thought, I don't know, it was a strange tactical decision from Frank. We didn't do anything, and the game was boring as well. It's difficult to be entertained by this team. And to really know what we're trying to do. You see glimpses and moments of like something that like an attack coming through, but it's always let down by a poor pass, something or a pass that's being overhit, or the timing of the run is not right. So you get some encouragement from that aspect because you think eventually they will get it right, and these attacks will eventually end up being goals. But the problem at the moment is we need to win these types of games, because when you're 2-1 up, especially today, and today we got lucky. We were lucky to be 2-1 up. I felt I think a goal out of nothing came today from Tell. So moments like this, you really have to capitalize. I think Frank struggles with certain things. Like, I don't think he has the ego, for example, like Ange used to have. Ange would tell them, you have to win today. I don't know, just he seems to me like he's I don't know how to describe him. He doesn't entertain. He doesn't get me motivated, even with the style of play. He's like a PE teacher at times. That's the sort of energy Frank's been giving me lately. And it's hard for me to get behind the Spurs team. I mean, we're organized, but with Paulinho in the middle, obviously you're going to be organized because Paulinho is everywhere. But I'm really struggling to be entertained by the Spurs team and get excited for games. I used to be counting the game, the days until Spurs play again during the week. And now it's not really something that I do anymore. And I was excited for this game because obviously we played them in the final. The last time we played Manchester United, I was in Bilbao. Chris, you were in Bilbao, one of the best days we've had. And that seems like it was 10 years ago, that final. It feels like it was ages ago. And I've forgotten all about that. We've actually won a trophy this year. And it just doesn't feel like we have. I don't know. It's like everything's been sucked out of the enjoyment out of the football at the moment. And we need a bit more. To come back on a more positive side, I do think there's good things coming out of the team, but they just need time and they need support. And at the same time, we need to be patient. And I sit here complaining. So I'm part of the problem because I need to be patient as well. But yeah, obviously I'm here for my free therapy session, like I usually say. Anyways, it's one of those podcasts where I feel we're just going to complain for an hour.
Melvyn, how would you describe Thomas Frank's time at Spurs so far?
It's tricky to sum up because I've seen good things from Frank, and you know me, Chris. I always support the manager. I'm always behind him, but with the manager, you need to give him time. I think a manager needs to be given time, transfer windows, time to do things on the training pitch. I think we've seen improvement from a defensive aspect, and he's unlucky to have so many injuries in key areas. I think medicine today would have made a massive difference. Kulusevski would have made a massive difference. Solanke made a massive difference. You could tell if we had even 2 out of those 3, I think we'd have 5, 6, 7 more points on the board. Would be a lot better on the attacking output. So it's frustrating because like Ange last season, Ange had the defense completely out and we were conceding goals. So we kept saying it's because we don't have these players. Now the attack is suffering and he doesn't have these players. So it's difficult to judge a manager where he doesn't have all his tools. So he's trying to adapt and do the best he can. So I give him sympathy in that aspect because any manager has to adapt. And he's putting points on the board, even though it's frustrating. He's getting it done. I mean, we've salvaged points, I think once or twice this season, and which shows me it's a good sign when a team is losing or playing poorly, but they still manage to scrape a draw or get a win out of nothing. So I'm happy from that aspect.
Matt, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's draw at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
All right. Thanks for having me. First off, it's always a pleasure speaking with you guys. And I'm sure Melvin's enjoying Malta a lot more than I'm enjoying New Jersey right now. It's cold and gray. But that's similar to, that's like the perfect analogy for Spurs. Cold and gray, because that's kind of how I feel when I watch them. I kind of feel dead inside. Because like that first 45 minutes was absolutely atrocious. I have a long list of notes that I took, and most of them are filled with profanity because we were pathetic. There was nothing really positive. There was a misheader by Rishi at 16 minutes, but I mean that first 45 minutes was like great for anybody who was suffering from insomnia, and I think that's exactly what Spurs have been under Thomas Frank. I'm not going to try to make sweeping statements about what he's trying to do. I do believe he's trying to be pragmatic. And like Melvyn said, we're picking up points in a very kind of boring way, and it's nice because it shows the resiliency. You know, we've come back to get some points at some different places at home. But, you know, Chris did make a really good point that we're supposed to be turning our home into a fortress. And we can't do that by not getting any shots off in the first half. We just cannot. We cannot do that by allowing a guy who's one of the shortest players on the field to get a completely untouched header. We can't allow this. You know, I think the only positive time that I saw during today's match was from 80 minutes to about 91. You know, when some of the subs started really interplaying very well. Odebert, Udogie, Tell, they all did their parts in it. And I think once we were able to get that width, we looked a lot better, which then brings up the question is why isn't Udogie starting, knowing that we're going to need that width? You know, in a 3-4, when you play against a 3-4-2-1, like, you know, Anarim likes to use, you got to have width. You got to overload those sides. And I think Melvyn made a point on it. We had the way to beat them. You know, you could overload the middle and then you hit it out wide because you're going to be able to outnumber them. It's just very disappointing because, you know, we're seeing the pragmatism, and that's great to pick up some points on the road. At home, we should be on the front foot. We should be stepping up to these teams. We should have more than 3 touches in their box for the first 45 minutes. And in fact, I don't think there was probably many more touches until about the 70th or 80th minute when we started making subs and then kind of like really pushing it out there. And then, of course, typical Spurs, you know, we're playing against a team with 10 men and we allow their probably most dangerous person on a corner to be unmarked on that far post. I mean, I don't know what Vicario is doing. Vicario's been playing out of his mind the last couple of games, but that one, I don't know why he's behind the line. But also questions need to be asked about how does Bentancur lose his marker so easily? You know, we have 11 men on the field. They have 10. Just, it's a simple numbers game. I'm not understanding how that is so easily available for Matthias de Ligt right there. It was just a very disappointing day. Even if we were to sneak a 2-1 win, it would be undeserved. Again, it would be great to get points, but again, like it's very disappointing seeing how Spurs have been this year and this high level of pragmatism and just trying to, like, you know, set pieces and just bits of play that really are just not interesting. I think there was, I think only one time in the first half, like I really noticed something, and it was like a bad through ball on the left side that was just out of reach for Richie. But, you know, Richie's not going to win that. Richie would not win that regardless. He does not have the pace for that. You know, I just think it was another disappointing home match in the Premier League by Spurs. And that has been the story for the last, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years almost. Just disappointing performances at home, disappointing results at home.
Matt, can I ask you very quickly about the lack of creativity? Because, of course, we were standing here doing the podcast last week, having lost 1-0 at home to Chelsea, and we had 1 shot on target in that first half, 0 shots on target today against Manchester United. And the stat that I read out there about 3 touches in the opposition box, first time in 10 years that has happened. What can Thomas Frank do to improve this, and what is the game plan from the very off?
Oh, Chris, I wish I had an answer for that. I wish I could kind of look into the future, look into the brain of Thomas Frank and see the solution. I do not know of the solution. Sometimes during the first half, I did notice Xavi was coming deep, was trying to start the move. He would come deep. He would pick up the pass. But again, then there would be nobody to pass it to up front. It would then just go out wide again, and we would do almost this horseshoe of death again. I would think at this point, you know, it's very clear that this is not working in this manner. Maybe we have to try something different. I know Kudos was out, and Kudos is our number 1 attacking threat. He does so much great work. He kind of like allows for the rest of the team to get forward. But, you know, we really weren't seeing anything positive from an attacking sense. I mean, you know, we've seen Romero play some nice balls at time. We've seen Porro play some nice balls at time, and Porro's form seems to have been very poor. You could see that United set up Mbueno on that left side specifically to go after Porro. And, when he got the goal, clearly it worked. But I'm not really sure, Chris. I mean, maybe Bergville, if he wasn't suffering from a concussion, maybe he could get on the ball and drive forward. I know Sarr was trying to make some runs. He's always offering himself and trying to make that driving run to create space. Xavi was offering for the ball a lot. It's not like we're lack of trying. It seems like it's just a lack of game plan almost. And maybe that comes down to the fact that on the training pitch, we're not focusing so much on the attacking patterns of play. And maybe just more for a solidify, like a solid defense. But even still, like the defense does not fill me with confidence, because there were a number of occasions today where simple through balls were, where they were almost one-on-one with the goalkeeper. I think Van de Ven came back to rescue us a few times. So it's very strange. I'm not sure of the path forward. I mean, when we had the width from Udogie and Odegaard on that left side, I mean, that's when we started to see some real moves that created something. But I don't know. I wish I knew. I really wish I knew. But we're not seeing it, at least from that starting 11. And again, like I said, only from minute 80 to about 92 did we really look like a team that has played together on the pitch before. It just seemed very disorganized. And we're just kind of trying these long balls to Richie, which don't work. Kolo Muani did play well. He made some nice runs, had some nice touches. But yeah, I wish I knew, Chris. It's just, it's tough. We're not seeing many, we're not seeing much. So I'm not sure where it comes from. And you could look at the underlying numbers of all of our matches, and you could clearly see that there are major problems with our attack. And, based on that Chelsea match of last week, there's major problems with our defense, because I think the XG of Chelsea was like 3 point something. So I wish I had an answer for you, Chris. But unfortunately, I do not. I have no idea. I just hope it comes to something on the training pitch, comes into it, and Xavi is able to kind of really put his fingers all over the patterns of play. I don't know. Maybe you could switch it to Frank does like you to use different formations. I love watching different football leagues. A 3-5-2 is a nice formation if it's done right. A 3-4-3 can work. You can use a different formation maybe to compensate for this lack. Maybe you have Romero act as like a false, like a libero almost, to push into the midfield, so we're not outnumbered in that type of sense. And he's good on the ball as well, and then he could pick those long passes. I'm not sure. It's tough. I think questions need to be asked about the summer recruitment. I think we've all spoken about how we've been crying out for like another playmaker, somebody from deep who could really pick balls. I know the pipe dream is Adam Wharton, but I think there's just, the squad profile is missing a lot of key ingredients to really make something good. So it's tough. Yeah, I mean, I could go on forever, but I still won't have an answer. I'm pretty sure about that.
Interestingly, in a recent press conference, Thomas Frank didn't really like the term pragmatic or defensive coach. He said his team score a lot of goals. Craig, it's very mixed. As per normal, with the Tottenham Hotspur fan base, it is very mixed. A lot of people are saying give Thomas Frank time. A lot of people, including Melvyn, today have said that Spurs are a boring team to watch. How would you sum up Tottenham's season so far under Thomas Frank and the style of play?
Style of play is definitely boring. I think we've been lucky in some games. As I say, I think we've been lucky that everybody's been beating everybody else in the Premier League. Doing okay in the Champions League. Europe seems to be slightly different for some reason, whatever that may be. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think it's probably a quality issue with the teams we've been playing. People saying, and look, I agree, our forward line is just not good enough. and we have been scoring goals, but it's just the style of play. It is the style of play. And bearing in mind, this forward line we certainly played today, and a lot of the season was the forward line that we had last season, pretty much, if you take Kudus out of it. So, he kind of swaps Son for Kudus. So there's not been massive changes there. Callum Mawani's just come in, but to be honest, he looks miles off it to me. Works hard, definitely, but I'm not quite sure he's going to get 20 goals this season. I'd love to be wrong, but it just seems that the creativity isn't there. The forwards aren't making the run. Certainly in that first half, there was times when I was shouting at the television, movement. What you're told as a kid, movement. You're easy to mark standing still. And there was just no movement, or there was nobody ahead of Javi a couple of times when he had the ball. So is that a coaching thing? To me, it is. Frank is obviously setting us up that way. Look, it seems totally weird to be sitting here saying, we're third in the Premier League. And as I say, unbeaten in the Champions League. And it just feels very flat to me, Chris. It's
for a bit of balance, though, Craig. We might be third in the Premier League, and this isn't a negative thing. This is a factual thing. We're only a couple of points away from being 11th, so I wouldn't read too much into the league position at the moment.
No, quite absolutely, and good point to make. You asked me what the style of play is. I'll just repeat what I said. It's boring. I don't actually find us entertaining to watch most of the time. And I think probably a lot of fans, if they're being honest, probably think the same as well. Whether this is sustainable, I don't know. But while we are where we are,
is there a part of you though that's confident, Craig, that will change when we get the likes of Maddison back, Kulusevski back? I know that Maddison is going to take some time, but Kulusevski, even Dominic Solanke could be back after the international break. Thomas Frank confirmed in the press conference on Friday he hopes that he will be back sometime in 2025. We need to see him back as soon as possible because we certainly need options. But can you see that changing? Because Thomas Frank says a lot of the time about layers, about principles. Is he? Is this just a step, and we will see entertaining football? Because he's adamant, that he's not a pragmatic or defensive manager. His teams have scored a lot of goals. Can you see a Thomas Frank side at Tottenham scoring a lot of goals in the near future?
It's weird because, as you say, we have scored a fair few goals, but it just doesn't seem like it. It's just a weird position to be in. I think it's all down to the style of play. And you asked, can I see it changing? I actually can't answer that. I'm not 100% convinced it will, if I'm brutally honest, because no matter what Thomas Frank says, I think he is more of a pragmatic manager than an attacking manager. No doubt his side's attack because we've been scoring goals, but I'm not 100. Look, Maddison's not going to be back, as you say, till probably next season. You're not going to see the best of James Maddison until next season. Kulusevski is going to take a month at least to get back into the swing of it. Solanke, again, probably the same with him. We've seen before when he comes back from injury, and a lot of players, they don't hit the ground running, and they take a while to get back into it. So, in my mind, probably after Christmas, New Year, January sort of time, you're going to perhaps see a change, but I don't see the way we play changing any differently, to be honest, other than Frank having more options to try and go with. But the thing is, the club knew about Solanke's injury in August while the transfer window was still open. They knew about Kulusevski. They knew about James Maddison. And clearly, you can see now, clearly, they didn't do enough. They didn't do enough to support the manager in the transfer window because they knew those three players were going to be out for a while. All right, you perhaps maybe Solanke not, but come on, they must have had an idea. So I'm just not convinced it's going to change drastically, but I really hope I'm wrong.
Now let's move on to the starting 11 for today's game, and there has been a positive update from Thomas Frank on Randall Kolo Muani and defender and captain Christian Romero. On Romero, he said he is just done physically. He just come back from that injury, but he is fine. And on Kolo Muani, he said he actually struggled a bit but nothing big. Now, Melvyn, let's come to you on the starting 11. This is the 11 that Thomas Frank went with against Manchester United today. Vicario in goal. Back four of Porro, Romero, Van der Ven and Spence. João Palhinha and Sarr. Johnson, Javi Simmons, Richarlison and Kolo Muani. And the subs today, Udogie, Tell, Scarlett, Odegaard, Rosewell, Kinski, Danso, Bentancur and a Camrich. I've always said, since Thomas Frank has come through the door, certainly after the first couple of games, it's very, very hard to predict a starting 11 for Thomas Frank's Tottenham. What did you make of the starting 11 today?
I did say I thought he got it wrong. I'm not a fan of playing players out of position just to have them in the team. I know Richarlison played on the left against United in the final and did quite well, but today I don't think he held his position well. I don't think he played well on the left. I'm more of a fan of Richarlison, down the middle. I think his position is to stay in the box, and I don't think he did his job. He didn't stretch the defense, stay on the left. He was always creeping in, staying central. A couple of times I thought he got in the way of Colomani, and I don't think it worked quite well. I think we should point out that there's a big difference between Spence and Udogie. I thought Udogie, when he comes in, he really, really makes a difference. Even from an attacking output, there's a big difference between Spence and Udogie. Also, I've been lately, and even last year, been really, really frustrated with Porro. I just get really, really pissed off when he loses the ball. And I feel he gets the ball and he tries the hero pass every single time. And it's like he thinks that if I try this 100 times, once or twice, this is going to be a goal. But we just keep losing possession time after time after time. And it's just really frustrating. And as a fan, it gets to you when you keep losing the ball for no reason. I mean, it's much safer to retain the ball. You're much harder to beat if we keep the ball, you protect it. And with Porro, he just loses it time after time after time. And if you keep looking at him, and like I've been doing lately, because he's been really annoying me, if you focus mainly on him, he loses the ball a lot. And it's really something that he needs to change. I know his crossing is good at time, but it's not really necessary, especially when we don't have a striker in the box. I felt when we were attacking and we were on the front foot, we didn't have enough of our players in the box. Even it's really frustrating as a fan, and I'm sure the players feel it as well, and they get frustrated with him as well. But from the line, going back to the lineup, I'm happy with the defense. I thought they were solid, but the goal we conceded today, I mean, that was very, very poor defending. I mean, they should have cleared it. I mean, if we had cleared that, I don't think United would have scored. I mean, Romero and Van der Ven were excellent defensively, but they really needed to clear that. Even this season, I think the goals we've conceded, I think if we just cleared the ball and just booted it out a few times, they try to play these nice passes and try to build out from the back. Just boot it out. Play safe. I don't understand why they did that. But anyways, go with the lineup, with Paulinho in front of them. I know we get quite defensive with him playing, and you have to sacrifice a bit going forward. But I thought Papa Sarr today was everywhere as well. I think they're a good combination to play together. I don't think Frank knows his best midfield combination because he's tried everything. I mean, he played Bergvall for 5 minutes against Chelsea, and I thought he was unlucky to be subbed off. I still don't think he knows his best midfield combination. I mean, Bentancur an excellent game in the Champions League, and we probably missed him a little bit today because when he came on, I felt we did maintain a lot more pressure on United. But going forward, there's positives in the team, but there's lots of question marks to be asked about our lineup and our best 11, because even the front line, I don't know who to play, because Matistel came on and impacted the game, which is something that we need to see from these players. Odegaard impacted the game. Johnson was, back to his normal self. He was non-existent. The one thing he usually does, he didn't do. He didn't score today. That's the one thing he can do. But it's frustrating result, but there's still some positives out there.
Matt, let's come to you on the starting 11 as well. And of course, no Mohamed Kudus today. He remains out injured. He made 3 changes, Thomas Frank, from the Copenhagen game on Tuesday in the Champions League. So Spence, Polina and Richarlison all coming in for Udogie, Bentancur and Odegaard. What did you make of the starting 11 today?
Well, when I first saw the team sheet come out, I thought we were going to be in like a 4-4-2 with Richie and Kolo up front, with Xavi shuttled out to the left, and then Johnson on the right to basically maintain the width. And then I looked at the defense and I saw that Spence was starting at left back, and then I was like, well, there goes that idea, because we're not going to be able to have width with Spence. Spence is a natural right footer. He's going to cut in. And that's understandable. But, originally I thought it was a pretty decent lineup for what we could work with. Again, like Richarlison, for me, Melvyn said something about, he would rather see Richarlison start up front. I would rather see Richarlison start in Brazil or not be part of the Spurs squad anymore, because I think we've passed the sell-by date with him. I'd rather Tell get those minutes or anybody else get those minutes, because although he had that the goal at the end, for most of the game it was just bouncing off him. It wasn't really looking nice. But for the lineup, that's the best we could do, again, besides having Udogie on that left side to give us that width with Odegaard. But it's tough. We don't have much in the cupboard right now, like from an attacking sense. Melvyn made a good point about we don't know what our midfield, our best midfield is. Jury's still out for me as well, and I think Frank and almost every other Spurs fan is in that same camp where we're just like, I don't know what it's going to be. It'd been great to see if Bergvall could do something today. I know he was concussed and all that stuff, so he's out for at least another, I think what the protocol concussion is, 2 weeks, so he'll be back halfway through the international break or something like that. But yeah, it's tough, because Melvyn made a good point. When Bentancur came on, I think that we were a little bit better from an attacking sense. I think at that point, our tails were up. We had the impetus to actually attack then, and so then he plays a different skill set than Polina, where Polina was kind of just like to protect the back. But for the lineup, I thought it was, we could do what we can with it. But again, like I kind of saw Johnson as, okay, well, he's either going to score a goal or he's going to do nothing. And he did the nothing thing. Once in a while, I'll be a little bit nicer to Brendan. I know he does put in a defensive shifts from time to time, but there was some times last year where he would double back and he was doing his tracking and everything like that. But the goal at the end by De Ligt was a combination of him and Bentancur not picking up their marker on that far post. So it's tough. What are you going to do with that lineup? I think that lineup should have done better than having 1 shot, 3 touches in that first half. They should have done better than nothing. Again, I'm looking at my notes. It's absolutely nothing good in that first half, and there's too much rushing. Everybody was so quick to try to rush a ball. Like, we had this one attacking move at the end of the first half, and it was rushed. It was like, it was good. It was good. It was perfect. It was perfect. And then that final ball rushed. So it's just like, it's frustrating because I echo everything that Craig and Melvyn have said, and I'm sure every Spurs fan is feeling the same way. It's boring. We don't know where it's coming from. We're not seeing like any real attacking threat. Our threats come from throw-ins and corners and free kicks, and like, you know, again, I don't want to like harp on the fact that Spurs are a certain club where we're supposed to attack and, you know, have this entertaining, just be entertaining. But, you know, this is the opposite side of that. We're just like, we're falling asleep. It's very difficult to kind of like be locked into Spurs the whole game because you're just being bored to death. There were numerous times in that first half where I was just like, I would go into on my phone and I'd be like flipping through and I'd look up and nothing still was going on. Like the amount of times that, you know, I thought the high point of this match was like me going out at halftime and changing my wife's car battery. Like that was up until like the 2 goals at the end and where we kind of rescued something. Like that was my high point. I was like, hey, at least during halftime I did something, you know. But it's very difficult. But again, it's kind of like we're stuck in this because, like Craig, Melvyn have said, the recruitment over the summer was really poor in a lot of areas. And Craig really made a great point. They knew about Solanke's injury in August and September. I mean, and to just go into the year with what we had and say, yeah, we'll figure it out. Well, you know, what's the worst that could happen? I think we saw the worst that could happen last year and the year before when it came to injuries. So it's just like the short-sightedness. There's so many mitigating. There's so many factors in this, but you know, we did what we can with until we started making subs, and that's kind of it. That's like we did not look good until we made subs, which is pretty damning on the starting lineup.
Right, now we're going to hear from Thomas Frank. This is his post-match press conference. Craig, straight after this, I'll come to you on reaction to Thomas Frank's comments. This is about just under 9 minutes.
Mixed emotions after that. Obviously, the team did so well to kind of come back into it and think they were going to win it, and then to lose or draw at the death.
Yeah, of course, the emotions inside me are high, of course, but I take the positive out of this game. That's what I believe. How I believe in. We build a good team and keep adding layers to it. I think overall a fine / good performance against a good Man United team that's definitely in flow. And we're talking a bit about our how can you say level of defensive attacking threats, and to play against a Man United team that play with confidence with Cunha and Amat and Burmo and Sesko coming on, and we kept them down to 5 shots. That's just another example on the other way around. It's not that easy just to create in the Premier League, even that they had all their big boys out there. That said, our second half, our response, I was extremely happy with. We're playing home. Of course, we all want to win, and you know, don't talk too much about home form and all that. And I know we need to win before we don't talk about it. But the way we turned around to stay in the game, kept doing the right thing throughout second half. Very, very happy with that, and also so close to win it. And on any other day, we win it.
There was a reaction, obviously, to one of your subs from the crowd, but it felt like your changes on the day worked.
Yeah, sometimes you're lucky. But of course, I would say that every single time I take a decision to sub a player, it's with one aim: to make the team winning or getting back in the team, back in the game, or try to see the game out or whatever. It's only with one aim: try to win the game. And no doubt, Matty did well. Great goal, great involvement. And in general, I think actually Xuereb played a fine game, a positive but also you need a little bit of freshness.
Did you hear the boos when you were making the substitutions?
I'd just say every single time I make a decision, there's one aim, that is to make the team better.
What did you specifically from Matthias? Like, was it the movement up front that you just wanted to change?
Score goal.
Hi, Thomas. So much of this fixture, from a Spurs perspective, is centred on the Europa League final, 4 straight wins against United. Was that something you could feel in the last few days? Did that affect your preparation? And can you see United's improvement since those games?
I think I saw this game as one game ahead of us. I would love to do everything we could to try to win it. That was the aim of the game. I think I spoke before the game about it's clearly that they have improved this season. They look, how can you say, more in sync together, but also that I think especially in going forward, they look like a big threat. That's why I actually think, I know we conceded 2 goals, but if you concede 5 shots in a game, probably if you said that before the game to me, I probably said, yeah, I'd take that. So we're all happy.
Were you expecting Brian to start on the left today?
Yeah, I think we've seen it's not the first time that Ruben have, how can I say, played around with the front 3 position. I think no matter where Brian plays, I think he's a threat, which he showed again today.
Thomas, most managers will say that they've got to work on their team, there's things to improve, but is that game kind of evidence of that, really? Because you're talking about your defence doing well, but then it didn't do so well maybe clearing the ball for the first goal, and maybe you didn't look as much of a threat as you wanted your team to until the last 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, so please ask the question again.
So your defence, you said your defence played well,
yeah,
but didn't do particularly well for the first goal. It seemed to struggle to get the ball away, and then you weren't as much of a threat with your offensive players as you might have been until the end of the game.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think I used that they played well, the defence. I think I said if you concede 5 shots, then before the game, you probably would have taken that. That's not the same at the 2 shots they had, maybe even on target. Was 2 situations we probably could have done better in. And we will, of course, look through that and go through the details. So that's, of course, a fair point. Then we play a game against a team where both teams try to cancel each other a little bit out. We always want to create a little bit more, but you can then flip that and say, hey, we scored 2 goals in a situation where it's difficult to create.
Hi, Thomas. You started with a sort of certain make-up up front today, made changes at half-time, then more changes with sort of 20 minutes to go, which obviously worked brilliantly. But are you still sort of really trying to find the right combinations in attack? Is that, and what are you looking for? What's the team kind of not doing that you're looking for to get them to do?
The team not doing in general,
attack. I mean, just finding the right combinations. It feels like you're still sort of searching for the right blend.
I think that's fair. We are searching to find the right balance up front, and I think when we look the game back, I think there was positive bits going forward also from the game. I think we created what we want. One of the biggest chances with Cowlin from across from Brennan after 5-10 minutes, and sometimes the small things he scores on that instead of Brian. It changed a little bit and opened up the game a tiny bit more. But we constantly work on the relationship and try to improve it with the players and try to find what is exactly the right blend. But I think there was small steps in the right direction. He actually struggled a little bit, but nothing big.
Hi, Thomas. Just on from that, another injury update. Christian Romero came off with a couple of minutes left.
Yeah, just done physically. He just came back from that injury. He's fine.
So he'll be okay for international break?
Yeah.
How much of a blow was it having him come off, given the manner of the goal he conceded in the 96th minute. I mean, he's obviously a big threat at set pieces, both defensively.
But I think his position, he wouldn't have been near the goal anyway. So it's a cross on the side, and then he would have been in the middle zone. So this was back post, so that wouldn't affect anything.
Hi, Thomas. Can you talk about Will Snowderberg's performance today? Because he was really, really good and sort of followed up on Tuesday's performance. And also, sort of why didn't you feel it was right to start him today as well?
I think, we try to work around how we can say what is the best way to attack the opponent in front of us. Try, and on the same time still how can I say, keep a little bit of flow. But I think we wanted to strike us, so we played to the left. Richard but came more in for the crosses, which we think was an area where we potentially could hit Man United. I think it worked perfectly with the first one, where Richie get a big chance. So that could have been an unbelievable, fantastic game plan from us. So that was part of it, and we need different personalities and types for different games.
And just on Wilson.
Wilson. Yeah, sorry. I think again he's positive. I think he's stepping forward or stepping up. Sorry, and doing things that looks right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Right, Craig, let's get your reaction on Thomas Frank's comments there, because he's come out and said, I take the positives, good performance. And I know we're going to talk about the decision about taking Javi Simmons off, so we'll leave that to a couple of minutes' time. But he's again said small steps in the right direction. Of course, on Tuesday, he came out and said very similar and said it was a step forward. What do you make of those comments from Thomas Frank?
Yeah, and also he said it was a good performance, which I'm not sure it was, to be honest with you. Steps forward. Well, the fact we didn't lose, I suppose you could say that. I mean, it's always better to get a draw than lose at home, but I just disagree with a fair bit of what he said there, to be honest with you. I just don't think it was a good performance. For large quantities of the game, it wasn't a good performance. It's just not good enough. And a lot of that, you could argue, isn't his fault. He hasn't got the players probably in his front line. He clearly doesn't know what his best team is.
Craig, on that statement, does he believe that was a good performance, or is he protecting the players?
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know him well enough to know if that's what he's like in press conferences, and whether he just wants to put across a more positive spin on it. Could well be. My gut would tell me he probably does see that as a half-decent performance, whereas I disagree. I don't think it was. And I think a lot of the fan base and a lot of people in the chat probably agree as well. It wasn't that much of a performance. It's just concerning. I'm sorry if I feel a bit flat at the moment, and I don't think this is just the result today. It's just been coming for weeks, and I totally agree with Matt. That's why I was nodding along with what Matt said. He went out and changed his wife's car battery at halftime. I must admit, the other night I went and did something in my bathroom because I was so boring. I was so bored watching the game, and I didn't do anything like that. I was just unclogging a tap. It was nothing that interesting. But I have to say, it was more interesting than watching Tottenham. And that, for me, I never get up during a game. Like Matt said as well, is on his phone. I find myself doing that. I'd rather scroll through TikTok or something than watch Spurs, and that's a horrible thing to say. It sounds mental, but I was sitting there. I suddenly realised I'm just doom scrolling, looking at cats doing stupid things, and I'm more entertained than watching the football. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I despair. And you can just look at it, the amount of empty seats in the stadium. How many times in the past have you known a Tottenham-Manchester United game have spare seats? Tickets have gone to general sale for the first time that I can remember for Brentford and Fulham. The seats aren't being filled with bums for Champions League games. Now, I would argue a lot of that is down to the pricing. I think the pricing is ridiculous. But even so, Spurs have had those sort of ticket prices for years, and they've always filled the seats. But fans clearly do not want to come and watch the team at the moment. the stadium is not getting filled up, and surely the club can see that. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit down with Spurs at the moment, and the performances and where we're going.
Yeah, and I must say, I echo those thoughts and feelings of you, Craig, as well, because it does feel a bit flat. And I must say, the last time that I felt like this was under Nuno Espirito Santo, and Nuno come out with some comments in press conferences a lot of the time, and I just thought I must have been watching a different game then. And you're right about the empty seats. There have been a lot of empty seats this week. I know we've had 3 home games, but the Chelsea game last week, there are a number of Chelsea fans inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the home section. Exactly the same today. A number of Manchester United fans in the home stands, because it's pretty easy to get a ticket right now. Right, let's talk about the game itself, and I'm going to get through this pretty quickly. Melvyn, let's start with you. After the second minute, the Spurs fans were totally up for this game. They were singing Champions of Europe, and then Johnson again, of course, having beaten Manchester United in the Europa League final in May. And I must say that when I walked into the stadium, I saw the Europa League trophy as well. So, it was getting the fans up for this game. But let's start with you, Melvyn. On the 16th minute, Matt mentioned this instant earlier. Great cross from Brennan Johnson with his left foot, I might add. Richarlison completely miscued it and headed wide. What did you make of that opportunity?
It's frustrating because you think you have to try to do better when you have chances like that, especially playing under Frank when chances are limited. I think under previous managers, you think we're going to have much more chances coming. So if you miss one, he's going to have another one. Chris, I had to track back, but I really wanted to speak about the comments of the manager because I really felt that he should be questioning the mentality of the squad a bit. He didn't. In a way, he was happy with what he saw, and he was picking out little positives. But if I was him, I'd be more fuming. I'd be more angry. I'd be questioning why. I'd be even asking the set piece coach, why did we allow them to score in the last minute of the game? We should have won. And if you think of previous managers we've had, if you go back to Ange, Conte, Jose, Pochettino, Harry, Redknapp, even AVB, they'd all be fuming about this. They'd be angry, not picking out the positives. I just think I know he's not trying to put anyone under the bus. I think Jose would have started mentioning names and saying, "Oh, he's going to be dropped next game." I don't agree with doing that, but I really think he should have more of this is Tottenham. He's at a big club. I still think he's going into this thinking we're Brentford, and I feel that there was 30 seconds left in the game. We should be fighting for the win, and his comments kind of annoyed me even more because he's picking out the positives. And yes, there are positives. Yes, they are positives. But
The thing is, Melvyn, let me pick you up on this, because he said in that press conference there, conceding only 5 shots against Manchester United. Yeah, I'll take that. And he's high-fiving the fans after the game, walking down the tunnel. He's clearly happy with this result. He's clearly happy with this performance.
I'm not, to be honest. I was fuming because I was happy we managed to get the 2-1 to get to that point. But it's not, we didn't dominate Manchester United. I mean, we beaten them 3-0 last season, and we beaten them 4 times. We should be doing better. I know it's a bit. I was calling out for patience. From I was the first one to say the manager needs time, but there needs to be standards set. Even Ange, at our worst, was going for wins and saying, we are Tottenham Hotspur. We're a big club. We should be winning these games. We should be doing better. I don't agree with how he approaches his mentality. It's a mentality of a coach. He's a positive guy. He's the guy that puts the arm around the shoulder and encourages you to do better. But sometimes you need the manager that shouts, that's angry, that smashes the table and come on. Why would you drop silly points like this? I mean, we'd be second at the moment if we won. It's stuff like this that pisses me off, because we'd be going into that Arsenal game in second place, and I know we're miles behind them, but it's stuff like this that really annoys me, because he doesn't have the mentality to say, we're playing Arsenal next week, let's send them a message, let's go into that game with us being second. And I just think other managers we've had in the past would not have reacted that way. And I think he needs to remember where he's at. He's at Tottenham Hotspur. We are a big sixth team. We are a big club, and we need to be aiming high. And I just feel that he's happy with a point.
Matt, let's come to you. After 20 minutes, Mickey van der Ven, he got the ball. He literally ran with it for a second or so, took a couple of steps, and the whole stadium, it was the biggest cheer I heard, before we actually scored a goal today. But everyone got excited about Mickey van der Ven picking the ball up. After 32 minutes, of course, Manchester United took the lead through in Mbeumo. Do you want to talk us through the goal?
Sure. Okay, so there was a bit of play down that left side. It was crossed back into, I forget the exact bit of play. Somehow it got recycled to that right side. And I just saw too much just playing around with the ball. Sarr gets the ball in the middle. He's messing around with it. Instead of just putting a foot through it, he doesn't, he messes around with it. They recycle it. And then, of course, Mbeumo's completely unmarked at that back post. You could clearly see Brennan Johnson and Porro. I mean, I don't know who they're waiting for to cover Mbeumo. I mean, Mbeumo is not exactly a tall guy. He's clearly their number one threat. I mean, I would think that somebody should be watching him at all times. I think it just comes down to the fact that we were masters of our own demise right there, because we had the opportunity to clear. We had a few opportunities to clear it. And instead, we allow them to continue to ramp up the pressure and for Mbeumo to sneak in unmarked, which is just completely appalling. We should not be conceding silly chances like this. If we're a good defensively strong team, we should have cleared that ball out when we first had the chance. We should not be playing around with it in the back, safety first mentality, especially considering, Frank, from what I gathered from that interview at the post-match interview, he is happy with this point, which is extremely concerning. That we are not doing our job when we need to. We created this problem, and it was an easy goal. I don't think Mbeumo will ever have an easier goal. It was just, there was nobody near him. Porro was 2 feet this way. Johnson was 2 feet that way. I mean, the dude, I don't even think he jumped for it. So it's very sad to see this, because, you hear about Brentford, when Frank was at Brentford, with this very defensive minded, they were strong on set pieces. They were physically tough. And then you comes to Spurs, and I feel like, like Melvyn said, he thinks of this as he plays with Spurs almost as if he's still Brentford, still at Brentford, getting a point at home to United is a good thing. No, it is not. It is not a good thing. It might have been a good thing in the 90s when we were terrible, or even during any time on the when United were led by Fergie. Getting a point against United at that United, that's a good point. Getting a point at home to this mess of a team that was down to 10 men, that had glaring problems, the same, like many glaring problems that we all knew how to take advantage of, but we didn't. It's very concerning that, he's happy about this. He's happy about limiting a team to 5 shots. Yeah, that's great. But 2 of them ended up in the back of the net. And 2 of them were like very simple, like within they were from 6 feet out. We cannot allow chances like that, because regardless of whatever number of shots, hey, what if we only conceded those 2 goals, those 2 shots? Is he going to say, hey, we only conceded 2 shots? And then I would love for a reporter to follow up, but yeah, but both of them hit the back of the net. So should you really be thrilled about that? I mean, it's and also he says like a good Manchester United team. Isn't that like an oxymoron lately? Like a good United team? Like they're not. They are not a good team. There are clear problems there, and I just don't understand like how we're supposed to be stronger defensively. We're supposed to be more organized, and we just always allow silly goals because we don't do the basic thing. We don't clear it. I mean, there was a moment, I think it was on an earlier corner, where there was like a shout for a handball from the United players because Richie cleared it, like he hit it off of his own leg and it hit his arm. But there was room for him to run out to that left side. Instead, he hoofs it forward. So then the ball comes right back to it. Like the United gets to build another attack. And it was just, it's frustrating because we're seeing these same things. We're all frustrated about that. I'm not seeing any positives. He even admitted he doesn't know the best 11. Like, dude, I mean, I understand you've only been here like 5 or 6 months, but like you should have an inner idea of what is your best team and how to work it. I mean, yes, he got the substitutions right, but that was at the 70th minute and on. Like, was the game plan for the first 70 minutes to just kind of like stodge it up? Like, like when we were going through Europe last year with Ange, where we just basically stifle the midfield and just stifle their attack and try to like do it that way. That is not the acceptable Spurs way. That is not what fans will be happy with, and that will not be what the players want. The players don't want to play this type of game. It's one thing if you shut down a really strong team like a Bayern or a PSG or an Arsenal or a City team, and you limit them to two shots and maybe one of them's a goal or whatever, and you create more because you're playing on the counter. You're able to play that pragmatic method. But we should have been on the front foot from the day one, from the first minute. And again, that first goal was just a microcosm of like the goals we concede under Frank. It's just individual errors. We have the chances to clear it and we just don't. I'm not understanding why, but it just seems to constantly happen. And it's a concern. It's a real concern because I mean, Frank is a very well, he speaks very well, like Melvyn touched on, he is the coach who could put the arm around the shoulder and kind of like get into players' heads to get them to improve. But I'm not seeing those patterns of play in an attacking sense, which is what we need to see as Spurs fans, because if at least you're showing some kind of attacking threat, and we'll give you more time. If you're playing this stodgy like turd ball, whatever it is, like the antidote for sleep apnea or whatever it is, that is not going to win you many plaudits. You are going to get booed off. You are going to get questioned. There's going to be these tough questions at these post-match conferences. So again, that goal was pathetic. It was just, again, we did it to ourselves, but that has been how Spurs have conceded their goals in this season. We constantly do it to ourselves.
Craig, let's come to you. On 42 minutes, Brennan Johnson putting a cross from the right-hand side, but it was way overhit, went over the bar. On 45 minutes, just before the half-time break, Pedro Porro had a corner, went straight to a Manchester United head. And then, of course, we went in at the break 1-0 down, exactly the same as last week against Chelsea. Boos around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Craig, very quickly, what did you make of that opening 45 minutes? And I completely agree with what you said earlier about this is a very, very different Manchester United team that we played so many times and lost to and had very poor results against under Sir Alex Ferguson. And, Vicario didn't have to make a save today. Manchester United, for me, were there for the taking, and I am disappointed, as well as all of you guys have expressed about Thomas Frank's comments. Pleased with the draw, pleased with a draw at home against Manchester United, who, quite frankly, have been, they've been having a number of problems this season, and they were there for the taking. But overall, what did you make of the opening 45?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't agree with what Thomas Frank said. For him to say he's happy with the point, he should be coming out, in my opinion, saying that performance wasn't good enough, and we probably deserved to lose the game on balance. But we should be looking to win the game. We should be looking to turn Manchester United over, like you say. They were there for the taking. I don't think that 45 minutes was great in any respect. I thought the defending. I've criticised them for lumping it too much. But as I said at the time, there are occasions where you need to just clear your lines, and it wasn't defended great. Neither of the goals were defended great for a team that is apparently you're trying to build a good foundation defensively. And to be fair, we have had that, certainly better than last season. But I don't think Thomas Frank was being realistic in his press conference there. It wasn't a good performance, and you shouldn't be happy with a point. You should be going out and looking to beat these teams. I don't care who they are, especially United. United, like you say, ain't that good. But on the whole, that first half, it was pretty poor, to be honest with you.
Craig, as I mentioned many times, very mixed feelings amongst the fan base. King Hoddle, who is a big fan of this show, watches this channel week in, week out, has just said to us that this is the worst show ever. I suppose because all of us have criticised Thomas Frank and the approach and the style of play, and mentioned the booing again. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to all sit here and say how wonderful everything is, that we're third in the Premier League table and everything's going to be great? That's not the case, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I agree. Again, I agree. It's I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. I'll try not to do that with any match. Every time I come on here, I'll try and be honest and give my feelings. It might not be exactly what you're not going to please everybody. Everybody's got different opinions. That's why football's such a great sport. It's very subjective. It's not just today. People are saying we're being reactionary. It's not just today. It's over the last. Well, it's over the whole season, really. Apart from the first couple of games, perhaps I've just seen. I don't like the way we're playing. I'll say it. I don't like the way Frank sets us up. I think some of his tactical decisions aren't that great. And I don't think it suits the players, to be honest with you, because I'll say it again, a lot of these players were under Ange, and you could argue that we played a bit more pragmatically under Ange, and that's how we won the Europa. But at least you were being entertained. And people say, yeah, but we're losing. We draw to Manchester United. I get all that. I totally get all that. It's just the style of play. It's the style of play and just the way we've been approaching games, I think, is wrong. But that's just my opinion, and people will disagree with me.
King Hoddle writes here, overly negative. We're not Liverpool or Manchester City. Unrealistic expectations. Second half was good. We are going to come on to the second half. So if you want to stay with us, we will talk about the positives in the second half. But of course, we have to talk about the first half first because it came first. Now, all I ask as a Spurs fan is that we see our team go for it. That's all I ask. Did we go for it in that Chelsea game last week? Absolutely not. And we can only talk about what we've seen so far. Melvyn, let's come to you in the second half. Odebear on, Cowlin off. Richarlison then went through the middle. First Spurs chance after 54 minutes. Wilson Odebear, who came on, cross from the left, Romero on the end of it, saved by the goalkeeper. Wilson Odebear certainly made a fantastic and positive difference.
Yeah, I've always, said good things about Wilson Odebear. I've always been a fan. I've always said the same thing when Spurs fans questioned him. I mentioned he's a young, promising, footballer. He had a whole season out last year. Only came back till the last, 10 games. And I think you just see what him and Wilson, and the same with Tell. I have the same opinion of Tell. I think two very promising footballers, still very young, early 20s, I think there's a huge difference between being 21 and being 24, 25. And I'm a big fan of both. I think they deserve the game time that they're getting, and I hope they keep producing, which they started well this season. We just will need to see a little bit more. And brilliant for him. This will do really good for his confidence. And I think he's probably been our best left-sided player, I believe. I don't think we've had a better left-sided player this season. Obviously, Son is gone, and I just think he's probably our best player on the left. So he needs to keep playing, keep producing, and he'll come good.
Matthew writes here, next two games, Arsenal and PSG. Yeah, we'll talk about them at the end of the show. Two very difficult games after the international break. Melvyn, let's stay with you. Tumminia had a shot saved by the goalkeeper after 56 minutes. So we'd seen two shots in the opening 11 minutes of the second half, which was a much better attacking display from Tottenham. Sesko came
from a defensive midfielder.
Well, exactly, yeah. I'm very careful what I'm going to say now. I don't want to be too negative, saying that the chances come from the centre back and a defensive midfielder, but it's facts. It's true. What? How do you want me to gloss that up? After 58,
thinking at that exact moment when Romero was shooting, and I thought, this is Romero. Why is he shooting?
Spurs, of course, had the ball in the net after 62 minutes. Went to VAR very quickly, and that was cleared up. Brennan Johnson with a good finish. Pedro Porro then went off. Udogie came on. Of course, Spence then went to right back. After 69 minutes, good work from Udogie, but he passed it to a Manchester United player. A minute later, Manchester United had a chance that they put over the bar. Treble sub for Manchester United on 70 minutes. And then on 79 minutes, Tumminia going off, Bentancur coming on, Xavi Simons going off, Tell coming on. And the decision was booed by the whole of the stadium, Matt.
Yeah, is it me or Matt?
Whoever wants to take it.
I think booing a player, especially this early in his career, is very disrespectful. I mean, I know
Melvyn, it wasn't booing the player, it was booing the decision that Xavi Simons was coming off.
Okay. Then, I don't know, because you think, the manager was... Who did he come on for? Tell? Because then he ended up scoring. So you have to think the manager knows best. I know you need to have your attacking players out there, but Xavi Simons is still new to the Premier League. He's not really had, I think, a couple of shots on target, Xavi. I've not been impressed with his shooting, or not even long-range passing, I've noticed. He's good with short passes and one-touch passes, but I really miss having like a Huddleston-type passer in the team, where they can spray these really long passes and literally just put it on the player's foot or on his chest. And we don't seem to have that in our team, except perhaps Romero. But to take Xavi off for Tell was probably the correct decision, because he ended up scoring. So,
Matt, the stadium is closing very soon, so we're going to need some real short answers here. Talk to me about Tell's equaliser. Spurs, we all thought that we'd nicked a point from Manchester United. Tell, of course, scoring after 84 minutes. It was a great turn, wasn't it? And I know it was deflected, but a great finish from him. And ultimately, and this is a real positive that I would say today, Odegaard and Tell, they made the difference.
Absolutely. Odegaard, Tell, and Udogie on that left side. I mean, it just seemed like once they came, all three of them came on, we were getting a lot of joy down there. So, it was good to see. Finally, we were creating something. It was a fantastic touch from Tell to dead the ball and to roll off Maguire, I believe that was. It might have been Delict. I think it might have been Delict, actually. The way he rolled off of him and created that yard of space. Yeah, I mean, the shot was deflected, but I mean, that shot was on point. It was on target. It was going to be a very difficult save regardless. So I think it was well deserved, and it was a really nice piece of skill from Tell. And hopefully he gets more minutes in the place of Richie or somebody else, so we could see more of this. I think he's done very well, and it was nice to see that.
Craig, let's come to you. Sesko was put off. He missed the opportunity. Great work from Mickey van der Ven. And then, of course, Danso came on, Romero went off, and Richarlison then put Spurs 2-1 up. We thought we'd be heading home. Well, we thought we'd be taking home the 3 points. Richarlison, talk me through Richarlison's goal.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, Mickey van der Ven, by the way. Wow, what a tackle. Richarlison, look, great work on the left-hand side. I can't remember who was it, put it into Odebear. Odebear swings over, kind of cross shot. And Richie, that was definitely meant. It was he's just trying to get a flick on it. And a great flick on and buried it in the corner of the net. So... yeah, Richarlison didn't do much during the game, in my opinion, but I thought he'd won the game for us. Taking his shirt off to celebrate, never a good thing when there's still a couple of minutes left, and we all know what happened.
Now, it's fair to say, Craig, that Richarlison does receive a lot of criticism from the Spurs fan base, particularly guests on this show, including you. But you've got to give him credit for being in that right place, right time, and finishing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great header. It was a great header. Reactionary. I think he's better when it's reactionary. I think when he has time to think, he's not as good. And you do get players like that. But yeah, I genuinely thought he'd won it for us. Was happy for him, obviously, because he's a Tottenham player. And as you say, we have given him a fair bit of criticism, but thought he'd won it for us, but it wasn't to be.
Craig, let's stay with you. In the 96th minute, of course, Bruno Fernandes with the corner, the Lit with the header. Heartbreak for Spurs, as we thought that we would be, going home with the 3 points, and of course the game's finished in a 2-2 draw. What did you make of the goal that we conceded?
Well, pretty much. If you defend that corner, you win the game. That's what it came down to. The keeper's up there, as you can see, and we didn't defend it. I'm not quite sure. I don't know who was supposed to be marking De Ligt, but obviously he's one of the tallest players in the side. And I would just try and stick 2 players on him. He is good in the air. Personally, I think Vicario will think he should have done better there, beating at his near post. Yes, it's from a corner, but he was kind of going backwards. I'm not quite sure. I thought his positioning was a little bit wrong. I think he should have gone over, get that. Even just come out and tried to fist it away. I've seen him do that in the past. So I think you can possibly say that Vicario, I'm not going to say it's a definite goalkeeping error, but Vicario will be thinking tonight that he should have done better there. Definitely.
Right. Last question for you all. I want you to give the season so far a rating out of 10, and very, very quick summary and thoughts about the Arsenal and PSG away games coming up after the international break. Melvyn, let's start with you.
The rating out of 10, well, I give it a 6.5. I think there's still a lot to come. Obviously, we have injuries, key injuries. The Arsenal game, massive game. It'll be difficult. I know we're solid. We're a lot more solid this season, so we'll give them a fight. But I don't think he should be setting up for a draw. I think you have to go there and try to fight and be physical and, go toe-to-toe with them. The PSG game, obviously, we'll be playing them again. We were unlucky in the summer, I felt. They obviously have injuries as well, PSG. So I'll be happy winning one and drawing the other, but it's probably a little bit unrealistic. So I'll say we'll draw against Arsenal and lose to PSG.
Matt, same questions.
All right. Yeah, it's probably about the same thing, about a 6. We should be doing so much better, especially at home. These fans, they pay out the nose for these tickets. At least try to entertain them. It's very disappointing to see that we haven't resolved some of these issues. For the Arsenal and PSG matches, I mean, I don't think you could go to Arsenal and try to go toe-to-toe with them. I hate that team, but at the same time, they are much better than us at this point. And if we try to do that, they will pick us apart quite easily. So I think we got to kind of either maybe Frank goes into his tactics book, pulls out like a 3-man defense or something to that effect, and does a job like that. Same thing with PSG. When you go to Paris, I mean, you're likely going to take the loss. They might be missing some players, but again, we're missing some players that could cause a lot of damage as well. So I don't know. I think if we get 2 draws, that would be great. But being a Spurs fan and seeing how they played this season, I'll fully expect 2 losses. And it's not being negative; it's being a realist. This is a tough run of matches for us, and that's kind of how it is. We got it. The only way past it is through it.
It's an interesting point, Matt, and I use that word a lot about being realistic. I could be on here as the host saying that we're going to win and everything's absolutely fantastic, but it's not realistic. We've got to give our true feelings about where we are right now, and I believe that all of you have done that today. I know some people don't like certain things that are being said, and some people see things as negative, but I do think it was a much better performance than last week against Chelsea, but that isn't hard at all when you have an XG of 0.05. I expect a lot more entertaining football, and I expect a lot more from this squad. Yes, we've got injuries, but I still expect a lot more. Craig, finally with you.
Yeah, as you say, it was better than last week, but it's still a less than 1 XG, to be honest, against a poor Manchester United team, even though they've picked up a bit of momentum. I'll give the season as a whole a 6 myself. When you take everything into account, whether you're being entertained, the performances, taken into account that we have got injuries and everything, I would probably give it a 6. As for PSG and Arsenal, I can't see anything at the moment other than 2 losses. Sorry to say, I think that Arsenal are head and shoulders above us at the moment, and I don't think we've got a chance to get a result. I really, really hope I'm wrong, but I genuinely don't think we're going to get anything against Arsenal, and the same against PSG, sadly. I think you could look at that in isolation. The Super Cup, PSG had only about a week's rest or something like that. It was. And the players had played, obviously, that Club World Cup competition. I think PSG are starting to purr now, and I think they're going to be far too much for us as well, because I can't see us laying a glove on either team playing the way we are at the moment, sorry to say.
Craig, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you?
No problem. At Dearman9 on X, if you want to follow me. Absolutely, that would be lovely, and thanks for having me back.
Thank you so much. And Melvyn, where can people find you?
My Instagram is on there at Melvyn Tottenham. You can follow the Spurs Malta official Instagram. We're trying to increase our following a little bit. Yeah, if you can follow either.
And Matt, do you want anyone following you?
Sure, if you like random dog videos and cats, hey Craig, you can doom scroll through some of my retweets, because I do love cat and dog videos. Pitbull videos is my big thing. I love watching pitbull rescues. I love them. But yeah, it's I think this is that blue sky. At me crazy Matt .bluesky.social. I don't know how to read these things, but yeah, if you guys want to follow and see some, probably extremely hot takes and dog videos, so please.
I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go and watch the Outdoor Boys' latest video just to calm me down. I think he's released a few, so I'll probably go and watch one of them.
Well, Craig, Melvyn, Matt, thank you so much for joining me, and I'm sorry to the viewers and the listeners if you have stayed with us this long. I know King Hoddle has, so thank you so much for staying with us, and I do agree with you. It was a much better performance than last week against Chelsea. But of course, in these Premier League games, I want to see entertaining football and a win. And the way that at the end, I thought that we should have seen out that game. It's frustrating all round. But have a great international break, everyone. I'm sure Craig and I will be back with another fan show during the international break to talk to a lot of Spurs fans about how they feel about our club right now. But enjoy the international break. It's going to be a tough run of games when we return. Of course, as we mentioned, Arsenal away, PSG away, tough games. But Thomas Frank, hopefully he will turn things around. But as Craig mentioned, we are third in the Premier League table, so it is not all doom and gloom yet. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for all of your support. I will see you on the next one. Until then, come on you Spurs.
We'll be right back.